Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. First, before anything else, I just want to acknowledge you. Going ahead and stepping away from working in your business, serving your clients, all those back office things to keep things operational, and joining us today to work on your business, getting that one tip, something you can implement immediately from our conversation today to be able to raise the bar of the services that you're offering your clients and putting you well on your way to having your dream firm. Our topic today is earning 2 to 3 times more from your cleanup projects, increase profits, improve efficiency, and reduce stress. Okay, the cleanup challenge. This is where you start the project excited to get going, and you realize that it is so much messier than what you thought it was. So what happens? You end up with high stress and a lowered profit margin. That is the cleanup challenge. So if you find that you quickly assess the books and then you dive into the project and it becomes a lot more complicated than you expected, maybe you are waiting on communications from your new client and it's stalling the project, things are taking more time, so it affects your workflow and how you had things planned out. Or possibly you onboarded a headache client that just is not a right fit for your firm. You get a communication from them, and as soon as you see that communication, your anxiety levels go up, then you are in the right place. Steve, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
I thought you'd never ask. So hi, my name's Steve Fogelman. I'm going to be your co-host, and I'll also be working the chat and working any questions that you have for Lauren. As you can see by the last names, we are actually related. I actually am a therapist turned business coach, and now I get the opportunity to work with my lovely wife, Lauren. Lauren, back to you.
Thank you, Steve. A little bit about me is that I'm a sports psychologist turned business coach. And what I have found from my training and my education is I got all the tools, the know-how, the theory to do what I do very, very well. But also my education prepared me to be an employee working for someone else instead of a business owner or employer. Because of that, there were 3 things that I had to figure out on my own. I had to figure out how to be able to have the right words to communicate my value, to attract those right clients to me and differentiate myself from others doing something similar. The second thing is how to be able to enroll new clients into working with me when I don't really want to be salesy. The sales part, the objections, pushing someone was not something that I enjoyed doing. So I had to figure out how to have what I call a value conversation instead of pitching my services. And then number 3 is how to be able to price my services when I didn't want to charge an hourly rate or for my time. So those are the 3 things that I found accounting professionals can benefit from also is communicating value, having that value conversation where you're not pitching clients, but you're able to enroll them in a way that works for you. And then how to separate your fees and time in order to increase your earning potential. As you can see, that is my Amazon #1 bestseller, The Success Solution. And from 2018 to 2022, I have been listed as one of the top 22 business coaches by HubSpot. Okay, a formula. This is what is going to fix the problems that you see with onboarding clients, underpricing for your services, and ending up with those headache clients that you wish would go away. You need a proven formula. And when you have something that really works and it protects you, your energy, your time, your resources, increases your revenues, then you can earn possibly 2 to 3 times more than if you continue to do things status quo. What we're going to cover today is the 5 costly pricing mistakes, your personal ATM machine, and then those 5 tips to get started. I will give you as much as I possibly can in the short amount of time that we have together. If you're interested in digging in, making this happen in your firm, you've been thinking about it, the headaches are just not something you want to tolerate any longer, you realize that you're leaving money on the table because you lack a process, I will show you how to be able to get this plugged and played into your firm as well as we wrap up today.
Well, Lauren, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we're going to be looking at is the 5 costly pricing mistakes. But before we do that, we have our first poll question. So do you offer a diagnostic review? I rolled them right into a monthly service. It's part of my free consult. I have a paid diagnostic review. Once again, do you offer a diagnostic review? I rolled them right into a monthly service. It's part of my free consult. I have a paid diagnostic review. And if you would go ahead and answer those questions for us, then we will go ahead and get those back to you. And once again, this is a great time when we do the poll questions. If you do have a question for Lauren, please go ahead and give it to me, and I will make sure that Lauren gets that question, and so we can answer it during the webinar today.
And I think everybody has answered. If you want to share the results, Steve.
So I rolled them right into a monthly service is 7%. It's part of my free consult is 71%. Wow. And I have a paid diagnostic review is 29%. Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
Oops, hold on just 1 minute. Sorry about that. So Lauren, let's dive into today's topics, because I know that business owners, they really need accurate financials, and accounting professionals, they often start out doing this cleaning process and they clean up a client's books. What are the steps to turn your cleanups into your personal ATM machine?
Well, this is right from the profitable cleanup formula, and it is something that all my clients absolutely do. They get great results. I'm sure I'll be able to give you some ideas as to how this is plug and play later on, but it's a course that actually starts on September 13th. And this is not a self-study course. This is a hands-on training where I get to really help you implement this, see the results, increase the revenues, avoid the headaches, and be able to smoothly onboard your clients. But the 5 steps, even if you just take the essence of them and apply them right now, will go ahead and solve some of those cleanup nightmares that you have. The very first thing is being able to accurately price the project, because when you do that, then it removes so many other worries. You have a higher profit project than when you just wing it or you're not really sure how to price it. So that's something to think about, is that a lot of times you might go into the books when you're doing that initial consult, you see what their cash flow is like, you feel sorry for them, and you immediately discount your rates before they even ask for a lowered fee. So let's go ahead and remove that so that you're no longer discounting your services and your expertise. Number 2 is smoothly onboarding your clients, because so often you might be getting started with a cleanup project and then you don't have access to everything, or you had questions and now you're waiting on them to respond back to you, and they're not responding back in a timely manner, which means that it is delaying and you're being held up. So that will affect your own workflow and timeline. Number 3 is worry-free cleanups, because how often do you get started on a project and as you're going through it, you realize there is so much more than what they originally told you. There are surprises that come up almost all the time, and there's a way to be able to eliminate those surprises. Number 4 is no more chasing money, because the majority of accounting professionals that do cleanup projects are usually getting paid after the project is done. That means that there might be write-offs. Somebody might want to negotiate your fees because they didn't expect to be paying that much, or possibly that it took longer than what you thought. You saw their cash flow and you don't think that they can afford that fee. So you're writing off some of the work that you did and already discounting them, and they don't even realize it. And then the 5th thing is working with high value clients, because if you accept everybody, you have a range of clients from low value to high value. Those low value clients are price sensitive. They give you headaches. They want a lot from you, but want to pay as little as possible. And that is something that leads eventually to burnout. So I want you to be able to have clients who actually respect you, they value you, they implement what you do, and they are a dream to work with. So those are the 5 steps of the profitable cleanup formula: is accurately price the project, smoothly onboard your clients, worry-free cleanups, no more chasing money, and working with high-value clients because you deserve it.
Wow. So a common pain that most accounting professionals learn, unfortunately, firsthand is the dreaded cleanup nightmare. Why does this happen to them?
Well, I believe it's because you probably are doing things too quickly as far as the review and how you're assessing things. So think about it. How often do things go sideways where it isn't what you expected it to be? And I'm going to go ahead and put something in the chat. Do you find that your cleanup projects are as profitable as you'd like them to be? And would love to know your response to that. Please respond in the chat. But they go sideways because 9 times out of 10, you are asking your clients about their financials, and they don't really understand their financials to the same degree as you are. I believe that they, for the most part, are being honest and transparent with you. But because they don't understand the financials, they're not giving you accurate information. They'll have forgotten about certain accounts, or they don't even realize that when you're asking about accounts, they need to think about their PayPal, their Venmo, and all the other things that might happen, or a line of credit that was never closed, or possibly they commingle their finances between personal and business. And that's a headache right there. Or that they might tell you how many transactions they are, but they didn't tell you that all 500 of them each month are not categorized because they're just automatically grabbing from bank feeds. So that is something to think about, is when you're relying on it, their information, yes, they are giving you as accurate information as possible. But let's face it, if they understood financials as well as you did, they wouldn't have messy books to begin with. That's why they need you. So relying on someone who doesn't have that accurate information, the insights, is going to lead to problems down the road. And then a quick review on your end means that, yes, you're finding out some things that are necessary, but you might be skipping other things that eventually lead to problems down the road. And that is why everybody is saying, Lisa said no, the projects are not as profitable as she would like. Renee said not in the slightest. Christian said, what I used to do for free, I'm starting to profit from. Can't wait to hear more from that.
Nice.
And so that is something to think about, is we need to stop having you rely totally on your clients and that quick look at their books to be able to assess the project.
Well, what are the 5 costly pricing mistakes, or common pricing mistakes actually, when the accountants are pricing a cleanup project?
Well, this is something to think about that is leading to it. And having awareness about the mistakes is the first step towards being able to resolve them. So the very first thing is that there might be no diagnostic whatsoever, or a very cursory one during the initial consult. And because that, once you start working on it, you realize that the project's more complicated than you originally assessed. The other thing is, because you're doing a quick assessment, you undercharge for the cleanup project. As you just see, so many of you realize that it's not as profitable as you originally expected to be. And also, I know that you care about your clients, that you want to help them with getting their financials up to date. And because of that, as I've mentioned before, as you look at their books and you see the state of their financials, you might feel sorry for them and go ahead and give them a discount right off the bat, and adjust your fees without them even asking. But the other part of it is that you underestimated how long the project will be, and you gave them a fixed fee, and that is going to go ahead and reduce your time as well, your profits. Or the other part, the third thing is, yes, you charge an hourly rate because it feels safer and less risky, but it took longer than expected, and you're not charging them for all the hours that you work. So those are some of the ways that you undercharge. The other thing is discussing next steps. So you do the project, but you fail to enroll them into a monthly ongoing service that is really focused on the value instead of your time. And by doing that, you are actually leaving money on the table. But the other thing that might happen is that maybe you are just automatically going from the consult into a monthly service, and you're cleaning up their books along the way. So those are some of the ways that you might be undercharging for your services and your expertise. Okay, number 4 is speed of delivery. Let's take a look at some other businesses. Amazon Prime, FedEx Overnight. People, that's proof that people will pay a premium price for speed of delivery. And then we can look at the amusement parks. Let's look at Disney. They now have Fast Track, where you pay a premium price to be able to cut through the line and go on the express line. So those are ways that people will happily pay for speed of delivery because they want things done faster or on their timeline instead of on yours. So if somebody comes to you and there's some urgency, like it's right before the tax deadline, they haven't done their financials all year long, they need it to be done, gotten up to date in order to file, then that is where you could charge a premium price. Maybe they want to apply for a loan and need to be able to submit certain reports. And once again, their books are a mess, so nothing's accurate, which means it's going to compromise them getting that loan or as much as they need. So they need the financials, and those are things that are urgency, and people will pay for urgency. Once again, that's FedEx Overnight. You pay 4 times more than if you go ground delivery or if you're using the postal service. The other thing is payment terms. This is where we are now looking at credit cards. If you're using your credit card for a purchase, but you don't want to go ahead and pay the full balance off at the end of the month, then credit cards are charging you late fees and interest because they're now financing your purchases. They realize that there's some risk involved when they do that. And that's something to think about for you. When you are actually invoicing for your services, you are now financing your client's work with you, which means that you're taking a risk of some write-offs, not getting paid in a timely manner, or having to negotiate your fees. So something to think about is when you're financing your client's work with you, you can actually charge a higher fee for that. So those are just 5 off the top of my head. There's more, but those are just 5 of the common pricing mistakes.
It's so funny that you talked about Disney, because I was actually just going to jump in and say something about it, but you already covered it. So what are some options available once accounting professionals realize that, wow, this project is larger than they originally estimated?
Well, this is where you have a couple options. If you have a really solid work agreement, then I would suggest you have a conversation with the potential client, letting them know that the project's more complicated than you originally assessed. And as a result, you want to make some adjustments to the work agreement as well as the fee. The other thing is that if you don't want to do that, then you're going to go ahead and keep the fees where they are. And then you just realize that it's lower profit because it's going to take more time, and hopefully you make it up on the end. So I would love to know from you, and I'll put it in the chat. What do you do once you realize the project's larger than you estimated? And would love to know what your response to that is. But either way, whether you're talking with the new client about them paying you more, or you're deciding not to do that and you're just going to absorb it and hope to make it up on the back end once they turn into a monthly service, either way is not a great way to get started with a new client. And there are ways to go ahead and avoid that. So what do you do once you realize the project's larger than you estimated? Lisa, I usually feel stuck and don't know what to do. I get it, Lisa. Who wants to have that difficult conversation? It feels a little confrontational, and you want them to be happy with you. You're customer service oriented. So I really understand that. Renee said what I would do in that space of unforeseen circumstances really depends on the personality type of the client involved. That is great to see. And let's just say if there's a personality type that you're starting to work with that are giving you red flags, then we need to have some boundaries in place, which the system solves with the profitable cleanup formula, so that you don't end up with one of those clients that treat you like an employee, are demanding, or you avoid having conversations with them because they raise your blood pressure every time you do that. Christian said, I used to have the dreaded conversation of additional fees. Now I'm completely non-committal until after the diagnostic is done. So she is creating a safe space for her to where she's not giving any fees until she's really done that deep dive. And then when she's done a deep dive, she is able to go ahead and share that. So, you know what, Christian, can you explain a little bit more about what you're talking about? Because I'm sure that some people are curious about that.
I will. And actually, this is all thanks to conversations with Lauren and some other people that kind of chimed in. We came up with the deep dive diagnostic. What I sell to my clients is the 3Ds. Before I can touch your books, I need to do the 3Ds, the deep dive diagnostic. And this is really important. I'm going to give one little anecdote, and that is that I had quoted somebody fees several years ago, a couple years ago, and I thought, oh, this won't be any problem. I can reclassify all this. I tell them with my magic wand. Of course, it's the accountant's, reclassification tool at QBO. And then I realized they had coded everything to the wrong bank account, and we're talking about like over 1,000 transactions that all had to be gone into and changed what bank it went to, one by one by one. Mm-hmm. And I really, that was a horrible decision on my part. So anyway, learned from that experience. But now what I do is when we first meet, and this makes our initial conversation really pretty short and efficient. I used to go into, let's take a look at your books. Let's all for free. During my initial conversation, trying to get an overview, thought I could just glance and come up with, and then lose my butt on it because I was not charging for it. I used to be in the mindset of, hey, here I'm, going to make things easy on myself, do a quick diagnostic and then just quote them my fees. Not realizing that exactly what Lauren is referring to, the value that comes from actually doing a deep dive diagnostic where you actually go in and diagnose the issues with their books. And sometimes I even give them a little sample of, hey, I can come up with a little mini audit report, just something that shows you the issues that I found. I do it for myself anyway. So to kind of have something that I can go over with them is really, there's a lot of value in delivering some kind of service that allows them to understand the problem with their books, what it's going to take to fix, and what it means to them to have that clean set of books. And I find that people now, I've only been technically doing the deep dive diagnostic for the last month or two, but people feel like they're getting this huge service. I used to think the only value was that monthly bookkeeping. No, anybody can just do monthly bookkeeping on clean books. It is getting the books to that point where the value is. So my 32 years of accounting experience, that's what I'm selling to them during my deep dive.
And I can't wait to ask us. I'm going to jump the gun on this. So is this something you're doing for free, this deep dive diagnostic?
Oh, heavens no. It used to be, but no, I'm not. And I'm going to give you an example. There was a company that was referred to me. I talked to them very briefly, told them, what it would take for me to do this deep dive diagnostic. And what I would have charged probably, 6 months ago, maybe $750, something like that. Nope, I decided it was going to be $3,000.
Nice.
Okay, so I didn't get that from this client. And I know that sounds funny, but I've used it on other clients. I'm making at least 4 times what I was making before. But the company that I never even got to do my proposal for them because they had too much going on. But you know what? As soon as I talked to them and I said, are you ready? He rescheduled. It didn't work out. I just let it go. I didn't invest any of my time and energy. I hadn't even looked at their books, nothing. So you know what? It cost me probably 15 minutes where I would have spent hours on this before and not charged any money for.
Wow.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that insightful piece. But I'm going to just say, can you share about what you do charge for deep dive diagnostic typically right now?
Yes, it's usually at least $1,500.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a lot more than I would have charged before.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you so much, Kristen. As you know, I love talking about the actual numbers because what you shared is going to be evidence to somebody else that if you can do it, they could do this too.
Well, and literally someone I talked to this morning who I'd done some ad hoc work before I got off the phone with him, he said, and Christian, please, I just want to get you onto a monthly service with me so that I can get my books done. I thought, I haven't even pushed forward with this. And he's already said, what can we do to get a monthly service set up?
Mm-hmm.
So it does really open the doors.
Excellent.
Nice.
Thank you so much. And like I said, you're inspiring someone else. Radhika, I know that you have a question. Are you able to unmute yourself to where we can actually talk about it? Because I think it's a really relevant question that you're asking.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me, Lauren?
Yes. Am I saying your name right, Radhika?
Radhika, almost right.
Radhika, excellent. So go ahead and ask your question, Radhika.
Yeah, so this is actually, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask, because this has always been sort of like my mental battle, right? Like, I know the general advice given in the industry is, you know what, like if you know your stuff, if you want like the client's commitment and so on and so forth, you should charge for the assessment. And believe it or not, till now, I never, even though I think I quote a decent price if I do go forward with a cleanup, I never have quoted like a diagnostic fee. And here's my hesitation. I feel like if I quote, then it's on me to actually give them, it's only right for me to give them like a detailed report of, hey, here's my findings, here is so and so, because that's number one. And I feel like if I don't charge, then it's sort of like my judgment to diagnose it enough for me to give them a quote. And like, I don't have to present to them like the details of my finding, at least, and you can, challenge me there, but that's kind of my resistance. The second thing is, I place a lot of importance in only signing on clients that I really want to work with. And a lot of times I feel like I've had situations where they wanted to work with me and I'm like, I could already sense red flags or they were being extremely dominating. And I told them, you know what, whatever reason, I don't think this is the best fit. I'm happy to give you referrals. So I kind of went that route. And I feel like if I'm charging them money for the diagnostic, and then in the end, it's me who feels that just energetically, I don't want to work with them, then I feel like it's unfair that I charged them money. And then I'm telling them, oh, by the way, I don't think we're a good fit. So those are my two biggest.
Okay. Yeah. So you put a lot out there. Tell me which question you want me to answer first.
I think, so the two main questions are, if I charge, I need to give them a pretty audit report to make it work. And then what if I decline them? Then how is that fair?
That's great. So with the first thing is that actually you don't need to give them an audit report. And it's something that I go deeply into in the profitable cleanup formula is how to be able to do that, because let's face it, they don't really understand what's in an audit report anyway. And the audit report would work if they wanted to shop it around to somebody else, or if they wanted to take what you did and then do it internally on their own. That's the only reason that they would need an audit report. But most of them, if it's a good fit, and I really appreciate you bringing up about there are some people you don't want to work with. So kudos to you for already knowing that. But if it's a good fit, they don't really care about or understand the audit report. You're just showing them what needs to be done, and then they're going to have you move forward with it. So save yourself the time of doing an audit report and only give one if it's necessary or requested. However, it is possible with screen sharing for you to show them what needs to be fixed on their books before they move forward with you. Does that answer that part of your question?
It actually does, because you're right. If it's a good fit, they don't even care about.
They don't understand it. Let me tell you, and I'll go into it in the next section, but giving that audit report is going to overwhelm them anyway. So let's just go there, because they probably overwhelmed with their financials to begin with. They don't understand it like you do. But the other part that you're talking about, and I absolutely am on the same page with you, is I don't want you bringing on those clients where you get this gut feeling, or you know that it's not a personality match and it's going to add your frustration. And maybe you need the revenues, but revenues from someone like that is never, ever, ever worth it in the long run. They end up being a low value client instead of a high value client, and you regret signing them on. So what I would say is, if in the initial consult, then you know that they're not a good fit, don't make an offer. Just bless them and let them move on, which I'll be sharing later on also as we continue to go through this. And then if they are a good fit, the diagnostic review is actually a standalone product in and of itself. It's finite. They're enrolling into a very certain thing, and you both can decide if it's a fit to move forward or not. So this lets you test drive working with someone before you actually engage them into a monthly service with you or the cleanup project. How are you doing with that?
So I think I totally get it. The only challenge there is, what if I'm not sure yet on the call itself, if I want to go on to the next step?
Yes. So if you're not sure whether they're a good fit, like I said, the paid diagnostic assessment is really a way to test drive working together. Okay. And if it feels like a fit, you offer them moving into the cleanup project. If it doesn't feel like a fit, you give them the diagnostic report, which could actually just be the recorded Zoom recording that you did with them, and let them move on and have someone else do that work for them.
Okay, so we don't have to feel guilty.
You are not obligated.
Return the money.
Whoa. No. Please, Christian, answer that for me, because you know what I'm going to say.
Well, no, I was just going to say, on the deep dive diagnostic, that's something they pay for up front before you do the work. So it's not like you're worried about, oh, what am I going to find and how am I going to then justify them paying me a fee when I'm done. No, they pay up front for the whole diagnostic. And then the diagnostic can easily be a conversation. I usually just pull up the balance sheet and the P&L, and then I circle things that, you know, are issues or that I have found, and just discuss them a little bit. It doesn't have to be any more than that.
And
but the value, but you're putting the time and effort into the deep dive diagnostic as much for yourself or more for yourself than for the client, because you need to discover, are they a good fit? What will they be? You know, what is this monthly kind of work looking like for you?
Absolutely. So if after the diagnosis, I feel for whatever reason, right, this is not a good fit, I guess it's okay to just give them a quick summary and tell them this is not a good fit. That's where I struggle. Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's business. It's just business. And you can say, you know, I was hoping that this would be a good fit, or that what I found in my diagnostic, I've just realized that I am not the person to best serve what you need right now.
And sometimes it's just like Christian shared, having the right words to say that, to do it with grace and ease.
And I wouldn't do it. I would not make it a really long conversation. It's very short.
But the other thing, Christian, that you said, and I want to just reiterate, is that you're getting paid before you do the work, not after the fact. No more chasing money. Let's solve that problem. Yeah. And the diagnostic is high value from a client's point of view. So I hope I answered those questions so that we can just move on, and that I might have some information that will answer that even more. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this is how we learn from each other in our community, is that by having these conversations, which is where all the golden nuggets are, is we lift each other up, because most of us have those common challenges too. So really appreciate the conversation today. But I wanted to quickly talk about Devin. Is in March of 2020, when all businesses shut down, she specializes in law firms. And that is because she does the accounting for them, but she's also a practicing attorney herself. She knows both sides of the business. She had a law firm come to her who had everything on their servers in-house, and they weren't operational. They couldn't get into the office, which means that that law firm was hemorrhaging tens of thousands of dollars on a weekly basis. They needed to get into the cloud. What she did is she followed this exact process that Christian was talking about, where she had that initial consult. She did the deep dive diagnostic, which was prepaid for. She showed them what they needed to do to get operational on the cloud and have accurate financials, and to be able to really get moving forward so that they can go ahead and start being in business again. Because she was able to take them through that process where they saw the value of working with her, it wasn't connected to time. It was connected to her ability to solve their headache. They went ahead and said yes. Now, Devin, before we started going through this profitable cleanup formula, would have charged $5,000 for moving them onto the cloud, cleaning up their books, because she did it as part of her monthly engagement and working with them for about a year. So, but because we had this conversation, she knew how to do the formula. She priced it according to what they valued, and she priced it at $40,000. And not only did they say yes, but they prepaid her in full for the entire years of services before she ever got started. Mm-hmm. By having that influx of cash, she was able to take a part-time assistant who for about 18 months, she wanted to bring on full-time, but didn't have the funds to do it. She was able to turn that part-time into a full-time assistant. This allowed Devin to get some things off of her plate as far as day-to-day tasks onto her assistant's plate, so that she could do the high-level advisory services as well as business development. And just think about, what would $40,000 do for your firm if you had that influx in cash as well?
Wow, I'm just like blown away. Anyway, moving forward, so we're going to look at my favorite part, which is your personal ATM machine. But before we do that, we have our next poll question. If you do underestimate the project, do you have the client pay a higher fee, stick to your fixed fee, or not a problem since I charge for time? Once again, if you do underestimate the project, do you have the client pay a higher fee, stick to your fixed fee, or it's not a problem since I take the charge for time? And then, Lauren, while we're tabulating this, I wonder if you have time for a little question.
Sure, go ahead.
Will clients actually pay for a diagnostic review?
Well, I think that actually Christian already answered that. The majority of potential clients will pay for a diagnostic review because they have a problem that you can fix, and you're setting it up right where they see the value of doing this and moving forward with that, why it's a benefit to them. But the only clients that will not pay for a diagnostic review are your price-sensitive clients who want to either pick your brain and never had any intention of hiring you, or they are looking for getting as much as possible from you and paying as little as possible. So this is a way to be able to pre-qualify whether someone is a right fit for your firm or not, because charging for a diagnostic review is where the price-sensitive clients will go ahead and move on. And I did ask in the chat, how often do you underestimate a cleanup project? And Lisa said, I don't do a lot of cleanup work, but usually when I do work, it is underpriced. If anybody else wants to answer that, would love to hear that. And Steve, please share the poll results.
I would love to. So if you underestimate the project, do you have the client pay a higher fee? 22%. I stick to my fixed fee, and that's 67%. Not a problem since I charge for time at 11%. And Christian says it used to be 100% of the time.
That she underestimated.
Thank you. Underestimated. Yep.
But as you can see, it was in the past tense. Used to be, no more. Thank you.
Well, determining value can really be confusing. What things do the clients consider when they decide to hire your firm?
Well, this applies whether you're talking with a legacy client about raising their fees, or whether you're having that initial consult with somebody who is interested in onboarding with you. And this is where clients are considering three things: quality, service, and cost. As you can see, cost is at the bottom of the priorities of what they're considering. So quality means that people care about the relationship. They want to know that you actually know their name, know a little bit about them, that it's not transactional where you're just looking to have as many clients as possible and it's just numbers in your bank account and you really don't know anything about them or care about them. So they do care about the quality of the relationship. And then service delivery is that you have the tools as well as the know-how to be able to solve their problem and deliver it in the time that you promised you would, because that creates trust. So people will look at those two things first, quality and service over cost. And cost is a consideration because with all of us, we want to get the best that we could possibly get for what we can budget for. So we all want the best that we could possibly go, the best option that works with our budget. So once again, they're looking at quality, the relationship, the service that you can deliver on what you promised within a timely manner. And then they're looking for what their budget is. Now, the only client that puts cost first is those price-sensitive clients that are going to challenge you. They're going to ask why it took that long, why it cost that much. They might want to negotiate your fees and see if you can come up with a better rate. Is that your best rate? And those are things that are pitfalls and warning signs that this might not be a good client for you to onboard. So that is something to think about. Laura said, I've only done 2 major cleanups and one I underestimated, but he paid more with no issue because he knew it was worse than expected. Thanks for sharing that, Laura.
Well, avoiding this is really the ideal, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a system which helps them solve this problem?
Well, this is actually what I call the auto mechanic strategy. Think about it. When your vehicle is maybe starting to shimmy and shake when you go above 55 miles per hour on the highway, and it's also making a lot of noise in the engine, and you know that it's not safe or where it ought to be, but you can't fix it yourself or you don't have the time or desire to do that, then you go to your mechanic. And this is the steps that your mechanic takes you through, which you can take, which you can apply to your firm also. The very first thing is a diagnostic. The mechanic will lift up the hood and put his or her head under the hood, maybe clamp on some things and do a full assessment of what's going on with your car and what needs to be done to get it operational. Once that assessment is done, then the mechanic meets with you to review everything. And you know it is going to be a long laundry list of things to be able to get your car in tip-top shape. It's going to be overwhelming. So as a result of that, the mechanic then discusses with you what are the things that we need to do now and what are the things that can be postponed. And then after that and that prescription, you will agree to do certain things now that are the most important and fit within your budget. And then other things you'll put off till later on. But this means that the mechanic hasn't done any fixing or tinkering because up until now, you haven't given the mechanic any permission to do so. Once there's agreement, the mechanic follows through with the scope that you agreed upon. And then after that, everything's done, meets with you, wants to roll you into a maintenance to really keep your car in top condition in order to keep it safe on the road, operating smoothly, and to elongate the life of your vehicle. So those are the things that you can do also with your clients when onboarding them, is have that initial consult to where you're enrolling them into a diagnostic where you're doing that deep dive into their books to looking at their financials. Then you meet with them to review everything that you found, to explain to them why this needs to be done and give them some oversight. From that, you're talking with them to make recommendations of what needs to be right now to get their books up to speed and accurate. They are agreeing to give you permission to do the work. And this is then at that point where you start to get in and actually do the work and fix things. And then after you do the cleanup project, you roll them into a monthly engagement. So that's how the auto mechanic strategy applies to your firm as well.
Well, Lauren, let's dive now into how this really works.
Well, this is right from the profitable cleanup formula. And this is just another way of looking at it. But once again, you're doing that diagnostic where you are taking a look and really scoping things out. It is protecting your time, your boundaries, making sure that you're also working with a right fit client, and you're getting paid for something that you previously didn't know how to charge for or gave away for free. After that, you are enrolling them into a cleanup. Because you did the deep dive diagnostic, you now have accurately assessed the cleanup, which means that you know how much time it ought to be taking you and that it removes all the surprises. After that and getting their books up to date, you want to be able to enroll them into a monthly ongoing package with you. And I want to say that each one of these is a standalone process where you are test driving, working with this client each step of the way, because the initial consult, they might be great, but during the diagnostic, you realize that they're not a right fit for you. So you can just give them the information for the diagnostic, bless them, and let them move on if they're not fit, not a right fit. You're not obligated to move them into the cleanup. If during the cleanup, you once again realize that they're not a right fit, they are maybe asking too many questions that are beyond the scope, or that they don't get back to you in a timely manner, or when you get a communication from them, you can feel your blood pressure starting to rise and anxiety creeping in, you can go ahead and finish the project. You are not obligated to enroll them into a monthly service. This is where I know that you are customer service focused and you want people to like you. This is where you're doing something that is protecting you and creating some natural boundaries, because I would rather you assess early on that someone's not a right fit and give them what they need that you promised and let them move on, than ending up having a monthly engagement where you're going to go ahead and tolerate them for too long. It's like marrying the wrong person, and you knew 6 months into the marriage that you ought to get divorced, but you waited 18 years. Let's not do that. Okay, I want to protect you from having that difficult conversation or those regrets and resentment early on before that ever happens.
What are the first steps to start charging more?
Well, if this interests you and you're interested in really charging for your value instead of your time, then moving away from either a fixed fee that is based on your course and your time or an hourly rate, over to value pricing is a transition. It's similar to learning how to ride a two-wheel bicycle, but in the beginning, you're a little bit shaky. So you have training wheels until you figure out that balance thing and you feel more comfortable and you can take them off. So this is like the training wheels getting you over to value pricing. This is how it works. People come into you that want you to do their bookkeeping and accounting services for them. So what you're going to do is assess how much you would typically charge for that cleanup project by looking at how many hours you think it is by your hourly rate. You'll come up with that original assessment. And now we're going to have you do your new good pricing. You're going to take that initial fixed fee and multiply it by 1.5. That's going to be your new good rate. And I want you to be able to enroll 3 people at this new good rate that is 1.5 higher than what you initially would have charged. By doing this, you get some insights that people are not as price sensitive as you originally thought they were. After you enroll those 3 people, we jump up to tier 2, which will be your better rate. Once again, people will be coming to you and need their books cleaned up, do that assessment, come up with that initial original fixed fee that you would have, and now we're going to multiply it by 2x. This is going to be your new better rate. And you're going to be enrolling people at your new better rate, which means that you're now earning double what you originally would have done. No additional time spent working, but you're actually earning double for it. You're getting better at having that initial conversation to where they see the value of moving forward with you and saying yes, and you're working with a better quality client. After you have enrolled 3 at your new better rate, we jump to the top tier, which is your new best rate. Once again, people will be coming to you. They need to have their books cleaned up. You come up with that initial original fee. Now we're going to multiply it by 3x. This means that you're earning triple what you originally would have charged for that same project. Because of that, you don't need as many clients as you used to need to be able to meet your revenue needs. You're working with a better quality client who respects you, who values your time and actually implements what your recommendations. And as a result of that, you're getting some of your personal time back and lowering your overwhelm and stress levels. So after a while, you're at your new best rate. You need to be able to recalibrate and raise your fees again. So we'll go ahead and take your best rate, make it your new good rate, and go through this metric all over again. And this is how you start to have those first steps to value pricing for your cleanup projects. Okay, Susan, she does not like the enrolling consultations whatsoever. So she always had a low rate that she was charging because she just wanted people to say yes. She had a factory model business where she needed a lot of clients in order to meet her revenue needs because she was the sole bread earner for her family. And as a result of that, this means that she sacrificed. She sacrificed her personal time. She sacrificed her health in some ways, time with her family. She was working 7 days a week, 70 hours a week. So she was following this exact process that we're talking about. And I want to share what she showed me because she's an accounting professional. Everything is kept on an Excel spreadsheet. Let's go ahead and look at cleanup number one. She would have originally charged $1,500 for this by estimating how many hours she thought it would take by her hourly rate. And she underestimated 100% of the time and just ate it. But she went through the process of doing the deep dive diagnostic. She got paid for that upfront. We had a conversation afterwards on what she ought to be charging, coming from looking at it from the client's point of view and what would be valuable to them having accurate financials. We went ahead and agreed the price for the cleanup project would be $7,900. That's a $6,400 profit margin with no additional time spent working because she was following the step-by-step process of the initial consultation, knowing what questions to ask, going into a paid diagnostic, having that conversation about the next steps into the project. They said yes to the project, and the very next step would be getting paid upfront, which is what she did. Now, Susan didn't have the confidence to do this. She was shaking in her boots when she talked about this, but she had the courage because she couldn't work 70 hours a week any longer. It was burning her out. So this gave her evidence when they said yes, that people weren't as price sensitive as they thought that they were. She started raising the fees with her clients. She started charging more. And as a result, over the course of about 9 months, she brought in an additional $56,000 in revenue, but also she cut back from that 7 days, 70 hours to 3 days, 20 hours with the additional $56,000 in revenue. So think about what would it be like for you if you were able to grow your bank account and get back your personal time?
Sounds like a win-win to me.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next is we're going to be looking at the 5 tips to go ahead and get started. I'm sure everybody's waiting for that, but we have our next poll question. How do I figure out what to charge? How do you charge your clients? Do you charge hourly rate, flat fee, or value pricing? Once again, how do you charge your clients? Do you charge hourly rate? Do you charge a flat fee, or do you charge value pricing? And Lauren, I did have a question that came in. They want to know, this person wants to know, how do I figure out what to charge? And I think you have a handout about that or a resource.
Oh, I absolutely do. Thank you for sharing that. You know, we'll go into the handout in just a moment and the free resource as to what to scope out. But let's go ahead and close the poll.
Great.
Go ahead, Steve.
How do you charge your clients? Hourly rate is 25%. A flat fee is 63%. Value pricing is 13%.
Excellent. And we were talking about the free resource.
Mm-hmm.
This is right out of the Profitable Cleanup Formula, but I'm sharing it with you because you're spending time with me today, and I want you to be able to get this dialed in on knowing what to cover during the deep dive diagnostic. And this is a 15-point checklist of those things to be able to avoid having those cleanup surprises happen, where it's increasing your stress levels, it's lowering your profit margin. this is giving you some insights as to what to cover. You can go ahead and get this at businesssuccesssolution.com/cleanup job. And that will give you the insights as to what to cover during the diagnostic. And the other thing I also wanted to share while we're here, because I know we're getting to top of the hour and we're getting ready to dive into our last section. But if you feel that this resonates with you and you really want to go ahead and implement this, remove all those challenges that you had where you're having increased stress, you might be onboarding a client who's not a right fit for you, or you don't know the right words to be able to let them go. So you avoid doing anything that might have them engage with you or might have them get upset with you. You want to be able to make your cleanups 2 to 3 times more profitable, turning them into your personal ATM machine. Then I suggest you go over to businesssuccesssolution.com cleanup-formula. And that gives you everything you need to be able to enroll into the profitable cleanup formula, which starts on September 13th. And all the information is there. But I will go ahead and share a little bit more right after we go through this last section.
So Lauren, what you're really suggesting is that accounting professionals slow down and do a review before getting to work. What are some tips to consider as they're getting started?
Well, the very first thing to look at is that you can go ahead and charge for the review. As Christian mentioned, she charges $1,500 for the diagnostic review. What I recommend is that you can charge anywhere from $500 to $1,500. But I have actually seen some people go ahead and charge as much as $5,000 for the review. It just depends on the situation, your comfort level, and the complexity of the client that you are speaking with. So this is where you create a new stream of income for something that you didn't know how to charge for, you didn't realize that you could, you were leaving money on the table. Just being able to charge for a diagnostic review actually pays for the entire cost itself. So I just want to say that right there, that if we fix this, we will be increasing your revenues and removing those headaches. The next thing is resisting the urge to start fixing things. You're doing the diagnostic review, whether it is free during that initial consult or you're being paid for it. This is where I want you to hold yourself back. You know that if you just check that one box, or maybe this is just a simple 5-minute fix, and you did that, it would go ahead and make things easier for that person. But this is where we go back to the auto mechanic strategy. You have not been given any permission yet to go ahead and fix or tinker in their books. So hold back, resist the urge, and really stay within the boundaries of the scope, which is just doing the review and figuring out if this is a right fit client for you. Afterwards, you don't have a pricing formula. Because of that, this is where I feel like you end up rewarding bad behavior. Because you're doing maybe a year's worth of financials all at once, you give them a discounted rate than if they would have been working with you on a monthly basis, because you don't have a pricing formula, which means that you are actually undercharging for your work. The other thing is that when you don't have a pricing formula and you go in and you look at their books and you see where their financials are and you start to feel sorry for them and you think to yourself, they can't afford these fees that I would like to charge. Let me just go ahead and discount them. So you're discounting your rates before you even have that conversation with them, or you don't know how to use the right words for them to see the value. So they see you as a technician and they're comparing you to the $40 an hour bookkeepers or someone that they can get overseas to do this. And we want to be able to fix that for you. The fourth thing is I want you to get paid before you start the project. This is where you no longer are risking doing the work or financing someone's work with you. It's similar to when you buy a new vehicle. You go and buy that new vehicle, and as soon as you sign the contract and they hand you the keys and you drive the vehicle off the lot, that vehicle has depreciated by 20 to 30%. So I want you to realize that the value of your work, its highest value, is before you actually do the work instead of after the fact. Christian was saying fight the urge to judge their ability to afford your fees. This is where I can teach you how to have some detachment where you're not buying into their story and you're actually being able to show them how to enroll into working with you and showing them the value of why they need you. So that's something to think about. And then the fifth thing is test drive working together. I want you to slow down the engagement process before they become a monthly client so that you can make sure that this is a fit. So we break it down into 3 phases where the diagnostic is a standalone product. It's a test drive of them working with you and you working with them, because I want to make sure that you're working with someone who's a right fit for you before they go into a monthly. But the other side of it, where this is a value to the client, is that maybe they've had previous bookkeepers and they're a little bit gun shy because they didn't pick someone right the first time around. So they're a little hesitant. And this lets them test drive working with you too and seeing if it's a right fit on both sides before you each get into a monthly engagement. So those are some of the tips to get started. And with Lillian, when we first started working together, the maximum amount she ever charged for a cleanup project was $1,500. By going through this exact process that I'm talking about here, she was able to recognize her value. She had to connect with her value before she could expect anybody else to see the value that she offered. By going through this process and being able to know the exact questions to ask during the initial assessment, how to be able to do the deep dive diagnostic, how to be able to position the cleanup project as an investment and value add as opposed to a cost, she was able to actually get to the point where she charges now a minimum of $10,000 for her cleanup projects. And she just shared this, I think, last month in our group mastermind with all the accounting professionals that I work closely with. She just shared how she did this process with everybody in the group so they can go ahead and learn from her and follow her lead. But after the cleanup project, what she does is she enrolls them into a package. And this is an example of the package that she has on her website. She has a basic, a pro, and premium. And she's letting me share this for inspiration and modeling of what she does after the cleanup project and how she enrolls them into a project so it's not connected to fees. But please, this is just for model and inspiration. It's proprietary to Lillian. Do not copy it from her. But just think, what would it be like if you were actually paid $10,000 and that's upfront, her minimum for a cleanup project? How would that make a difference for you, your firm, and your revenues?
Well, so Lauren, what we covered today, we had a great discussion. I really was just fascinated by it. So you have 5 costly pricing mistakes, your personal ATM machine, and 5 tips to go ahead and get started. And Lauren, you really shared a lot. We covered, like I said, how to avoid cleanup nightmares, profit from cleanup jobs, and to cherry pick our clients. What do you have for our listeners that would like to go more and would like to have more contact with you?
Well, if you feel that you got value from a short period of time together, something that you can immediately implement, because I am a results junkie. I want you to benefit from this. The work you do is so high value, and so often your fees do not reflect the value that you make for your clients. So I want to help you correct that. And that is where I am going to be offering the profitable cleanup formula. I have not been sharing this with anybody. This is just for you for being here today. You were the first ones to know that I will be offering this. It is a small group of only 20 people because I want to work closely with you, just like we had a conversation earlier today with some questions, and we were able to really take it and give you some solutions that you can apply. That is what I want for you, is to give you things that you can actually implement and get the results in order to be able to raise the bar for your firm. So if you know what you want, but you just don't know the steps of how to do it, you want the hand holding, this is a live group coaching program. I love being able to answer your questions, give you what you need in the way that you can apply it and see results, and have it be something that you actually implement over the long term. It then turns your firm and cleanup projects into your personal ATM machine. So let's go ahead, and go to businesssuccesssolution.com/cleanup-formula and have you enroll into that. The investment right now is going to be well worth it just from the cleanup diagnostics that you charge for. But these are some of the bonuses that I've included. Is the cleanup process strategy session. For the first 7 people that enroll, you get a private coaching session with me during the course where I will review the questions you want to ask, how to be able to charge for this, how to enroll them into a monthly ongoing service with you that is value priced. Whatever it is that you need, I will absolutely open up the doors and give you all the resources you need during that private coaching session, which has a $1,500 value. That's a one-on-one session with me. And that's only for the first 7 people that go ahead and register. Also the prosperity and profit technique, because a lot of times you know that you want to do this, but you overthink it, you hold yourself back, you have all those what ifs. And so this is looking at the mindset part and having you connect with your value before others can see the value that you offer. The third part is handling objections with confidence, because a lot of times objections are misread and you shut down the conversation because they throw you off, they create anxiety, you don't know how to respond to them. I want to give you the tools so that you know how to take a client all the way through from the beginning of that conversation all the way to the end. And when those things come up, you're able to respond to them with confidence because you now know what to say. It no longer throws you off. I'm going to give you the exact script of what to do to have a value conversation, the questions to ask in order to have them see the value of working with you. And after going through these questions, those right clients will naturally ask, how does it work? You do not have to pitch them, sell them, pressure anybody into working with you. It is a natural thing that is very genuine and authentic and works for accounting professionals. I've tested and proven it. Okay, I want to show you how to pre-qualify potential clients. And this way you save yourself from ending up with one of those clients that are not a right fit for you. So this is where we have a natural gatekeeper that protects you from those wrong people because you don't know how to say no, or you don't like saying no and having someone be upset with you. I show you how to avoid that happening. And then the last bonus is the cleanup engagement letter, because this is just good business practices. And if you have a cleanup engagement letter that outlines the scope and you find something that is out of scope, you can then go ahead and confidently go back to that client and have a conversation about the additional fees. So those are some of the bonuses that come with the course. Those bonuses alone have a value of $7,900. And the course itself includes about the bonuses. It includes the entire project formula, the cleanup formula, which has a $5,500 value. There are those live calls where we are getting on the calls together, the meetings, and I am answering your questions. I'm giving you some additional insights. I'm helping you see the value and how to be able to communicate the value of implementing this. There is also going to be the recordings. I realize that you're busy and that maybe you can't go through all the materials during the 5 weeks of the live group training session. You get lifetime access. I do not kick you out after the course is over. Or maybe you've moved your firm forward and you want to go back and review something because now you're ready to really work on that piece on dial it in. Please go ahead and do that. I want you to build your dream firm instead of one that burns you out and overwhelms you. So you have lifetime access to the course once you enroll into it. So all these bonuses right here, the total value would be $17,400, but that is not what the investment is. And compared to that $70,000, $5,000 would be a great investment. General public gets typically $3,500. But like I said, I haven't even offered this to anybody. And you are here with me now. This is an investment of $997 today. It's a small group. There's not going to be hundreds of people. I talk with you. I answer your question. I handhold you through the whole process because I want you to implement this and get the results And a lot of times you can recoup the entire investment before the course is even over with one paid diagnostic assessment. So if that interests you, go to businesssuccesssolution.com/cleanup formula. That link is in the chat as well. But once again, I want to say, if you're one of those first 7 to enroll over the next 24 hours, then you will also get the private coaching session with me, where it's just you and me having a conversation. I am answering your specific questions, giving the resources you need to be able to go ahead and turn cleanup projects into your personal ATM machine. Christian, I just wanted to check in with you. Is there anything from this that I've missed that you wanted to add?
No, I would just say that to me, the value that I have gotten goes well beyond my firm. Yes, I'm using this to increase my fees. I mean, I have to say exponentially. Even though it's a process, I'm still working on raising my fees and working on, the right price for what I do. But it is empowering, and I have used that in other areas of my life in addition to my firm, and that to me has probably it's been the biggest surprise, and it's probably been worth more than what I'm earning into my bank account. So thank you.
Thank you, Christian.
Nice,
I appreciate
nice.
that. And then once again, just want to wrap up. I want to acknowledge you taking time away from working in your business. I know you're busy. You have a lot going on. You need to take care of your clients, and showing up today to work on your business. That is an advanced move that so many other people chose not to make. So I want to acknowledge you for doing that. I hope that you got one tip that you can immediately implement to be able to reduce your overwhelm, work with those right fit clients, and increase your bank account. And get back your personal time, because you deserve that. So if this sounds like this is something you want to do, please, I encourage you to go to businesssuccesssolution.com/cleanup-formula. I have not released this yet or announced it to anybody. You are the first to know. And I would love to be able to have you join the course, as well as have that private coaching session with me. It is well worth the $9.97 investment. This is an investment that will go ahead and be like compounding interest. So once again, don't overthink that. Go with your gut feeling. Say yes to you. You are the best investment you can possibly make in your firm. And I so appreciate you spending time with me here today.